But we, as educators, our job is to protect kids, right? And if there's anything that I can do now to continue that, that's in this aspect, I'm willing to do that.
You gave me the lead-in that one of the reasons that I stand and reach out is to protect kids. Give those of today the opportunity to find healing and recovery and to protect God's children. As an educator, if a school does a lockdown because somebody wants to stand publicly and talk about sexual abuse of a child, or another school does some confusion on trying to shut the subject down, is that educating society? Is that educating the kids in that school?
I personally don't believe so. I think on something like this, we are here to serve families and serve kids, and we're doing a disservice if we cover those kinds of things up.
Tim, I have talked to well over 30 men that were raped by Raimond Rose, from Wisconsin across Minnesota to North Dakota. Just this summer. And then I've heard of so many others. Interestingly, most of them have mentioned the article, the different articles. If they didn't have it, I'd send it to them. But it's interesting how often your name came up, even out in the prairies of North Dakota or the lakes and forests of Wisconsin, let alone around here. So others that have been harmed by this man are reading this. It's given them, my God, I'm not the only one type of thing. Now, one issue that is very frustrating to me is everybody in the Twin Cities that has been watching television, listening to radio, reading newspapers, is now aware that this guy named Raimond Rose, who to me could very well be the most prolific cleric sex offender to ever stand in our 3 states, is still being taken care of and awarded by the Christian Brothers. And we have reports that he has 15, 14-year-old kids in Chicago recognize his picture and say he's been in our school. It frustrates me when we have gone to the top officials of the churches, the Catholic churches, both in North Dakota, Wisconsin, and across the Twin Cities, and we get the same thing from those top officials. It's not our jurisdiction. I know the children in your world are safer because of what you're doing. And I'm very frustrated that the top officials of the church that baptized me cannot help us get Raimond Rose off the streets of Chicago, put him in a facility, be it a Christian Brother facility, and take the children out of harm's way. So personally, I hope your bravery, your wisdom here today helps educate that part of our society on doing the right thing and get Raimond Rose off the streets. So I'm proud of you.
Thank you.
Are there any questions?
Tim, I'm assuming when your parents didn't come to the baptism, they were not aware at that point of what had happened?
Yes, they were.
They were aware?
Yeah.
Wow.
And it was a sense of, my mom and dad, my mom is no longer with us. When it came to there was a sense of disbelief,
Okay.
that priests or clergy do not do anything like that. And that's a very difficult thing to live with too, that, if you can't get your mom and dad to believe you on something, it's pretty tough to want to share and open up to others about it and seek help. And in time, and I think it was just the shock of it all, that this didn't happen to my kid. And through time, they realized that, again, with all the news and publicity of other clergy, that it was like, my God, it did happen to our boy, you know, and that caused a lot of pain in their lives. I know my mom, you know, up to the time she died, she was just, you know, she felt bad because she wasn't there.
Okay, so,
Yeah.
Is your brother older?
My older brother, yes.
Priest.
Yeah, he is no,
reaction?
he is no longer a priest now.
Oh,
He's
okay.
married.
Okay.
And yeah, he was very, very instrumental in me reporting this. And actually, when we were going to have our child baptized in the Lutheran church, he said, you know, the name of the church isn't what's important, it's the relationship you have with God that's important. And so it meant a lot to have the support of my brothers and sisters through this time.
When did your brother find out? He was already a priest when?
Yes, he was a priest, and he just he felt the same sense of frustration of you know, that it's just, it was wrong, and there's no excuses for it. And in preparation for today too, I sent a letter out to our local Catholic church in Moose Lake just to give them a heads up. Because again, I just wanted to make it clear that this is not an attack against the church. I'm not trying to alienate anybody or an organization. I just want to hold the people accountable that didn't make the right decisions, that chose to cover this up, that chose to move Rose from parish to parish. Those are the folks that need to be held accountable. And anyway, our local priest sent a very, just got 2 days ago, a very nice letter of support, and said that he too, his goal is to help prevent and to stop this from happening again. And so I was very appreciative of that.
Does the fact that you work with kids make this even more traumatic than maybe for another person?
Well, I think it puts me in a little different position of, I know what some of the kids go through at school. You know, we deal with that as a teacher, principal, even superintendent. And maybe it does put me in a different position where I can relate to maybe some of their hardships and their struggles that they're going through.
But Pat, connect the dots, because Tim said he sent a letter to Christian Brothers, and now you're filing a suit. Obviously, the letter didn't get the response you were looking for.
At the time that Tim sent the letter, he just informed them that he had himself been abused. Tim was unaware, in fact, until fairly recently, that the Christian Brothers knew, even before he was sexually abused, that Brother Rose had abused other children. That's what you'll see today in this lawsuit. In the complaint that we filed is for fraud, and fraud occurs when, in this case, the Christian Brothers represented to Tim that Brother Rose was safe, and he could be trusted around children. Also made that same representation to his parents, when they knew full well he couldn't be. And what we now know is it was obvious that he couldn't be trusted. My goodness, these kids go up there, they ride their bicycles. I mean, that, if nothing else, shows what the age of these kids were. It's the fact they had to ride their bikes over to Dunroven to spend the night. And in that same moment, you've got a picture of Raymond Rose walking in the room with beer.